You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thank you for joining us for American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brumell, joined by our radio executive producer and friend, Ethan Euchre.
Happy to be here, as always.
Yes. Well, you know, it's exciting for us, and I say us because both you and I have witnessed the power of the Bonati spine procedures.
We have.
And the result that it brings for the patients that have true back pain, that sometimes they're told they have to be slit down the front and the back and go through these invasive procedures. And they kind of shy away from back surgery and them just by happenstance, and they come from all across the globe to come to the Bonati Spine Institute in Hudson, Florida. And what we hear is that they're awake, they're interactive, they don't have a pain anymore. We see tears of joy because those people, for the first time, sometimes in over 30 years, finally felt pain relief.
I see tears from you.
I do.
Quite frequently, actually. Because you get so, and then they're very emotional, touching stories. And,
it is.
You know, they really
each
touch you in
and
the
every one of
feels,
them.
they say.
It does. It does. And with that said, we have an exciting show. But up first,
In today's Back to Life segment, we will talk to a patient of the Bonati Spine Institute who went from living a life that was restricted by pain and discomfort through their journey of finding the Bonati Spine Institute and are now living pain-free.
it is my pleasure to bring to the program Matthew Hurt, a patient of the Bonati Spine Institute who lives in Las Vegas. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Matthew, you there? You
Hi.
there? Got your TV on?
Yeah, Matt's here. TV's off. I got somebody next to me talking on their phone, but they'll be off in a second.
Hey,
Oh, okay.
No problem at all. Hey, I made a really bad pun before we started this interview. I said, his
Yes.
name is Matthew Hurt, right? Kimberly said, yeah. I go, Matthew was hurt.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
said, that's not funny. I said, well, no, he was hurt, but now, hopefully, he's not.
Yes.
So we want to hear your story. How did you start experiencing pain, Matthew?
I believe mine was degenerative. 59, around the time I was 40. I started feeling some pinching in a nerve, and I thought it was going to be a one-time thing, but it slowly progressed over the years. So it got to the point where I was like, I was pinching the same nerve every, maybe quarterly, every 4 months, 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
And so it progressively got worse from the time I was 40 till I had my procedure.
Got it. When you say it got worse, how did it affect your life when the pains would act up, and what did it feel like to you?
It affected my life whenever the nerve would get pinched, because it would put me down in bed for sure for 3 days, sometimes longer, before I could get the strength back up to get out of bed and be able to bend and tie your shoes, go to work, all that other stuff. Sometimes you push yourself to the pain to get moving again, but it'd take a while. 3 to 7 days typically each time.
And what do you do for work, Matthew, if I might ask?
I'm an air conditioning mechanic. I own an air conditioning company.
Right.
A lot of times I'm doing the work myself. Sometimes I'm with my crew.
Yep.
Wow,
Very,
so lifting.
very
and
physical job.
very physical.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that, especially if you were basically laid up in pain for 2-3
Yes.
days, how was that affecting your business?
Oh, yeah. You stress over the fact that you're not going to work when people are dependent on you. So, it comes unexpectedly. So
And
that's like, say, sometimes you push yourself through it and you go back to work and you're moving real slow and you limit yourself what you can do until you can go back to work fully and try to get back to where you're stronger. Because if you go back too quick, too fast, it would re-injure it. So
Right.
usually it was like say, 3 days to get out of bed, maybe 5 days to start feeling better. Then you got to take it easy so you don't. I didn't cause it to get inflamed and pinch the same nerve again.
ouch. Well, the pain that you felt, can you describe that for the people listening? What did that pain feel like to you?
And where?
Well, exactly. It's just electrical shock. It would immediately tighten up all the muscles, and it's hard to move. hard to lay down, hard to get up because you are always on the verge of pinching it again. So it's like an electrical shock, and it just takes you down immediately.
Okay, and where on your body did you feel that pain?
Well, there was later learned from the MRIs and the procedures between L3 and L4, so that was the mid-back.
Sure.
On the mid-back on my right side.
And how long did you sort of just man up and tolerate this pain before going to see somebody? Because we hear it time and time again, and I know how I am, and I would be the exact same way. Like, it'll go away, I'll be fine.
I could be real active in between the nerve getting pinched, and I could do a lot of things. So typically, if you stress, overworking myself. Being in the attics too much, lifting, stuff like that, I think prone to be more susceptible to it happening again.
Okay.
And so how long did you suffer in pain before you said, I got to do something about this?
Well, like I said, it was reoccurring, and it got progressively worse over the years. So it started maybe in early 90s, and I eventually went to Bonati Institute in December of 2011.
Okay. What types of things did you do to alleviate your pain? Did you try conservative treatments before you thought about surgery?
Yes, I held off. I didn't know what to do when I first injured it, and
Sure.
Tried chiropractic, and I did injections once.
And did that provide
the
any...
chiropractor would give temporary relief. Didn't always go to the chiropractor, but it was as there was pressure on the nerve from placing my spine, and yes, I would get chiropractic, but there was no long-term solution.
Got it. How did you find the Bonati Spine Institute? Because you're in Las Vegas, Nevada, so you can see it's quite some distance to Hudson, Florida. How did you hear about Bonati?
Just looked on the internet. I had re-injured it, just like the routine, and I just went to the computer and started doing search and typed in something about the spine, or I can't remember what I typed in, but that was the Bonati Institute came up as one of my first searches.
All right.
And so I looked at the search and felt comfortable about what I was seeing and reading about. So I gave him a call.
What was it like when you actually walked through the doors at the Institute? Can you kind of describe that process? And, were you a little bit on edge? Because we hear that sometimes that, with any sort of spine surgery, regardless of the great outcome, it's still your spine. And then kind of what it was like when you were there?
Oh, yeah. So I had been talking to a lot of people before I ever made this decision.
Sure.
I understood at best it might be a 50-50.
Okay.
That you're going to be in better shape than when you went in. So I was very apprehensive and very nervous.
Okay. You're talking about traditional surgeries when you say that?
Yes. Yeah, about going having a procedure. So
sure.
I was nervous going into the Bonati Institute. So when I went there, I mean, it just when I walked in the doors, I wasn't, that didn't change.
Okay.
When I walked in the doors, but after the procedures, I felt more comfortable. Yeah, I felt comfortable after that, but I felt comfortable going down there just from what I saw on the internet and seeing some of the testimonials. So
all right, that
helped me a lot.
And so, Matthew, the evaluation process is usually quite interesting in that you're brought in and seated. The surgeon will come in, and they don't want to have you tell them what sort of pain you're experiencing. They will look at your MRI and tell you exactly what they think the root cause of the problem is. Was that your experience?
Yeah, pretty much. They spent quite a bit of time with me, and before they decided the procedure that they was going to do. So I think it was like a 3-step process. The interview, they look at your MRIs and talk with you, and then you go to, I forget the other part, but it's a procedure where they hook up electrical things to test the nerves or something.
Okay.
And then there's a third part, they give you injections in the area that's giving you the most pain.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't, when I walked in at that time, in a lot of pain because
Okay.
I hadn't pinched a nerve for a
In some
little
time.
while before I went there. So I did not get the injection
Sure.
of that area.
Okay. What, you had the evaluation, you felt like they were able to pinpoint where your problem was stemming from. You came in, you had surgery. You knew they were going to use something called conscious IV sedation. So did you watch a little monitor for some of your procedure?
Yes, I did. They
Okay.
brought me out of anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what you'd say.
Okay.
You come out of it a little bit, and you're actually watching the monitor while the procedure's going on, and they're asking questions if you can feel any difference there. And so, yes, they did that with me.
Did you know why that's so important versus being put completely under and not having that interaction?
I understand for some of the patients, yes. I didn't quite understand as I think about it now.
Right.
That wasn't an issue with me going in, or
Right.
I can remember seeing that on the testimonial videos on the internet,
Right.
and I thought that was interesting. And I know it probably brings comfort to some people, but yeah, they did that with me, and they hadn't. I was part of the procedure of
Okay.
if I felt the difference from
Yes.
as they were going through the procedure.
Right. When did you start to notice pain relief? Because as you said, your symptoms were sporadic, but continuing for a multitude of years. So how was it for you? Was it like, gee, I'm not in pain in a couple weeks, then months, and then half a year, years went by, and you went, hey, this thing works? How can you describe that?
Well, first of all, you got to understand, I went from Las Vegas to Bonatti Institute to have a procedure that a lot of people, doing my investigation, I know you could be down for 3 months to 6 months, or I flew there on my own and flew home on my own.
Okay.
Was to get up and leave the Bonatti Institute on my own. So
Right.
that right there says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have the what would be normally every 2 or 3 months, 3 or 4 months, the reoccurring pinching of the nerve. I didn't have that. So I was 3 months went by, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. So I didn't have it.
And how are you doing now?
Fine. So I haven't had the reoccurring every quarterly.
Does it? I
Of the
mean,
nerve, but if the doctor could explain why. I mean,
Yeah.
the nerve was coming out of the spine in an area where the bone had overgrown, and they opened that up. So
Right.
that area was restricted, and it was,
So
just like I said, as the nerve was getting pinched, it's not doing that anymore.
right. So it was freed. So obviously that makes what you do for a living that much easier without that continued pain.
Well, yeah, I was looking at maybe not being able to work or change jobs or do something different, scoop ice cream or somewhere.
Right.
That wouldn't be a bad gig.
Aw,
So you're feeling okay now,
Not
Matthew.
no physical work. So
got it.
Right. But you were able to return to work, and you feel pretty good today, I'm taking it.
yes, I was able to return to work. I think I started working again in about 3 months or less, and got stronger ever since, and normal routine after about 4 months. 4 months.
Well, that's great.
All right.
And so if you saw somebody suffering just like you did with those type of pains, you'd feel free to let them know that the Bonatti Spine Institute could be the answer to their problems.
Absolutely. I've recommended people from Las Vegas to the Bonatti Institute many times. So.
Great. All
And
right.
It's far from Las Vegas, and that's one thing, but
Right.
for me, that wasn't an issue after I watched what I did on the internet.
Aw.
Well, we're glad to hear that you're feeling well, Matthew,
Yes.
and we appreciate you calling into the show today to give us an update.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for having me on your show.
You take
Absolutely.
care.
Have a good one,
Continue
sir.
good health.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You know, if you're suffering like Matthew and have one of those very physical jobs and you need to be at your best, reach out to the Bonati Spine Institute, 855-267-0483, or visit Bonati.com. Stick around because we have more fun and exciting things coming up after the break. You're listening to American Medicine Today. Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thank you for continuing to listen to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brumell, joined by our radio executive producer, Ethan Euchre.
A pleasure to be here.
And we have our junior mint, senior fellow, Jeff Wagstaff.
Oh, yeah, mommy.
Oh, Lord.
Well,
don't talk like that, please.
You know, I'm just sad that Dr. Bonati isn't here in studio for this particular guest, but we're on the line with Dr. Carol Gunn, an occupational physician in Portland, Oregon, to discuss a new study which shows that medical mistakes are killing more than 200,000 people each year. So thank you for joining us, Carol.
Thank you for having me.
And Dr. Gunn, I know that the whole reason you sort of started campaigning about this particular topic is that you have a very personal connection related to this subject. Tell us about your sister, Anna.
My sister, Anna, she was a 59-year-old, and she, had a complex medical history, but she'd had a bone marrow transplant, did great there, and then 7 months later had a neurologic issues, and 5 months after that, a year after her transplant, started having chest pains. And when she complained about the chest pains, no one really ever considered it might be cardiac. And she died from having multiple heart attacks in the hospital.
And so this was misdiagnosis, or they just...
Delay in diagnosis. so she started complaining about it in February 2014.
Okay.
And she literally was not seen by a cardiologist until the middle of May. And by then it was too late. She'd already had multiple heart attacks.
What did they attribute that pain to?
A pain syndrome.
A pain syndrome. So in other words, they were telling her it was all in her head?
Yes, in a way. I mean, they gave her acids, and then they gave her narcotics.
Oh, she had gas.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. So she, said, no, this isn't right. But part of the issue is they still didn't hear her. And she had gone to an outside little hospital that actually found she had problems, transferred back to the teaching hospital where they restarted narcotics again. And the teaching hospital never pulled an EKG for 76 days.
Why?
That's unreal.
I mean, did you think that they were doing anything that was inept at the time?
Well, I live 600 miles away from her, so part of it was, did you tell your doctor? Yes, I did. And so when she went back to the hospital, was readmitted, and after the little hospital, I knew the little hospital had found elevated troponins, which is a cardiac enzyme. And she said, I spent hours with them. They know about the heart, Carol. And even at the hospital, 7 days in before they even requested a cardiac consult, and then 5 days after that till one showed up. So she had 12 days at the teaching hospital where no cardiologist had seen her.
But that was her initial problem?
No, so she had neurologic issues.
Issues.
That's why she was admitted.
Got it.
She kept saying, I've got this chest pain too. And they just gave her narcotics for it.
Just missed it.
And I can imagine that probably happens to people all over the country. I mean, what are the numbers of deaths? I've seen all kinds of different numbers. Some elevated, some more down to earth. What's the actual numbers?
Right. So Dr. John James in 2013 put out a study that was estimated between 200,000 and 400,000 deaths per year from medical errors.
Worldwide or just here in the States?
In the States.
Wow.
And then the Institute of Medicine just released a report in September that didn't have an actual number, but delays in diagnosis. They said 5% of all adults who seek any kind of outpatient care will have a delay in diagnosis, and all of us will have a significant delay of diagnosis at one time in our life here in the U.S.
Well, what do you think they should have done immediately for Anna?
Oh, well, I think the whole issue of, you have to sit and actually listen to what the patient is telling you, pull an EKG, and rule out the really bad things. I mean, you can't treat someone if you don't know what you're treating.
Can I just ask a question here? Because we hear sometimes from the healthcare providers, be it hospitals or wherever, they're getting told if they run too many tests, they're going to have a problem getting reimbursed by insurance companies, or they get a worse rating. Do you think that could have played into what happened to your sister?
It could have. There's no doubt that it could have. But, she'd had a bone marrow transplant. If you Google bone marrow transplant costs, $200,000.
Right.
You Google EKG costs, $50,000.
You'd think it'd just be standard protocol.
Yes, and particularly for chest pain in a 59-year-old woman who's had a major procedure done. That could have taxed her body in some way. And it was new onset. She had not had cardiac issues in the past, and she had had a lot of follow-up preventive care with regards to that, and she had no cardiac issues before.
Right.
We're very, very sorry to hear about your loss. And when Ethan was prepping us on you coming on the air, you can't help but think of the news magazines we've seen where people leave surgical instruments in the patients or things of that nature. How much of, let's face it, a physician is the best physician in the world is going to make mistakes. They're human. So sometimes that happens. But how often does it happen that, people leave half the operating room in the chest cavity? Or is it those type of things, or is it more misdiagnosed issues?
I actually think the larger number is misdiagnosis. We don't, and unfortunately, we do not have a central counting where someone is actually keeping track of all these. But misdiagnosis is probably the greatest number, and then other medical errors, leaving surgical sponges or things to that extent in people, or wrong side surgeries. Are still occurring. I mean, I don't know how a wrong side surgery should occur. Right. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me. The culture in the healthcare system has to change. It has to be a systems approach, not a one-person approach.
Correct.
And, if the surgeon missed it, then the operating Tech should have noticed that there was a wrong side surgery, but I was recently on a conference where with my own malpractice insurance where they were talking about the fact that 3 weeks prior there had been a wrong side surgery.
I had a quick question, though. What was the doctor's or hospital's response to you once this occurred?
It was slow. And it's still
Shocking.
slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because I went back, I reviewed all of her records. I had the ability to go and get them from everywhere.
Right.
And initially, they were like, "Oh, really?" And then I also found where people had written notes when they hadn't been there, and so that doesn't work either.
Were they
Right.
billing for those notes?
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sure.
I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Gunn, we're just about out of time, but what is the biggest lesson, the biggest takeaway for our listeners and our viewers as healthcare patients? How can we protect ourselves from this sort of misdiagnosis?
If you don't think you're being heard, ask for another appointment and say, "I don't think you heard me. This is my issue." You have to be heard.
Okay.
And you have to ask your doctor, "Did you hear me?" I think that is, just basic communication skills to make sure that what you're saying, if symptoms are getting worse, that someone knows about it.
And I would also think pushing for an appointment much sooner
Absolutely.
than later. Exactly. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with us, Dr. Carol Gunn, occupational physician in Portland, Oregon, to discuss medical mistakes that are killing between 200 and 400,000 people
Insane.
within the
Every
United
year.
States.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Gunn.
Take care.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
It's always
Oh.
crazy when, and imagine how she would feel as a doctor knowing that a family member, is complaining and
Nothing's being done.
And it ends up costing
and
her
being
life.
600 miles away, so your hands are tied at that point. It's
terrible.
Be your own best advocate. Don't let people turn a blind eye or a deaf ear to you.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you sound like the squeaky wheel,
You'll
still be alive, hopefully. You're listening to American Medicine Today. Coming up after the break, we have more in, what would you say? More in tune for you? More on hold in stock?
More in store.
In store. Yes.
We got it.
See, this is what happens when you don't get enough sleep. Stay tuned. We'll be back on the flip side of the break. Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery.
So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thank you for joining us for American Medicine Today. I am Kimberly Brumell, joined by our radio friend and executive producer, Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here as always.
Well, we have an exciting guest on the line. Joining us is world-renowned alternate reality game designer, Jan McGonigal.
Jane.
Jane. Jan. What did I say, Jan?
Jan. All good.
Foiled again. All right. Well, anyway, she's here to discuss a new book, Super Better, a revolutionary approach to getting stronger, happier, braver, and more resilient, powered by the science of games. Thank you for joining us, Jane.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Pretty interesting here. I don't know if you've ever seen these TED Talks that they have, Kimberly.
No.
It's more for like the techie community and people like that. I don't tend to watch them that often, but apparently we're in the minority because Jane has over 10 million views on YouTube of some of her TED Talks. Oprah Winfrey called her one of the 20 most inspiring women in the world, and Forbes magazine named her one of the 10 most powerful women to watch. That's some pretty high praise, and it all goes back, Jane, to something that happened to you in 2009. Tell us about it.
You know, I was in my home office and I stood up too quickly, hit my head on a cabinet door, and I got a concussion that didn't heal properly. And I went through everything you might go through with a post-concussion syndrome. You know, headaches, nausea, migraines, couldn't think clearly, couldn't write, couldn't get out of bed. And it went on for months. And at sort of my lowest point, when I was super depressed, very anxious, I thought maybe I should use my training as a game designer and a game researcher to try to bring the gameful strengths that we have when we play, the sort of psychology of gameplay, to my recovery, to see if I could recover better and maybe recover faster. And that was 6 years ago, and I wound up inventing a game that now 500,000 people have played. We've done an NIH-funded clinical trial on it, and that's the work that I'm writing about in the new book.
And as far as game, I mean, is it an actual game that you play on, say, your home computer, or is it more of a mental game? What is Super Better?
It is more of a mental game. We did create an app and a website that can help you follow the rules, but you don't need technology to play. It's 7 rules that you follow in your everyday life that kind of give you the right dose of gameplay every day to get enough of the mental activation that we know certain types of thinking and certain types of behavior make you more resilient in the face of illness and injury.
Okay, I have to ask, what is the science behind this game?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll tell you the results, and then I'll tell you the sort of hypothesis for why it works. Because what's been really interesting about this particular method is that, you know, we started getting results that it was working before we had a real theory for why. You know, in our randomized control trial, we found that following these 7 rules for 30 days was able to significantly reduce depression and anxiety in a clinically depressed population. In our clinical trial, we found that it also reduced depression and helped people recover faster from traumatic brain injuries. So we know there's some concrete results. You know, what does playing a game or having a sort of mental game model do to help you actually be less depressed and anxious?
Right.
One of the strongest theories has to do with the neuroscience of gaming. We know that whenever you play a game, you activate the same 2 regions of the brain that get underactivated when we're clinically depressed. It's the motivation reward pathways and the hippocampus, which is associated with learning and attention. And every time you play a video game, or really any game where you're willing to learn and improve and try to reach a goal, you activate these 2 regions of the brain. So it's, in a way, this kind of gameplay is literally the neurological opposite of depression.
What I find interesting, too, and you mentioned it in one of your TED Talks, Jane, was that gameplay actually outperforms pharmaceuticals. There's been a study done showing that. So playing video games, I guess, is better than taking, a Prozac or a Zoloft or something like that. That's pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, you should definitely, medication's working, keep taking it. We found in our randomized controlled trial that the depression rates improved at the same rate of using Superbetter, whether you were on medication or not, whether you were in therapy or not. So it doesn't have to be an alternative to, if you're already doing something that works. But, 80% of people with depression in the United States, according to the CDC, are not getting any treatment whatsoever. So I think there certainly is a large number of people who could benefit from this.
Oh, certainly.
Who may not be getting any treatment yet.
I mean, who wants to be on a prescription for the rest of their lives? And then, of course, if you said, hey, you can have a lot of fun playing this game, or you could be taking pills the rest of your life, I think a majority of the people are going to flock and go play the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the cool things about this game and other games like it, because there are lots of games being developed for cancer patients, for burn victims, I mean, all sorts of things, where they're finding that many of these games, you only have to play them once or for a few hours, and then it can change your behavior, change your outcomes for months later. So it's unlike a pill that you have to take every day.
That's incredible.
Once you change your mindset using the game, it tends to be the kind of intervention that lasts. So that's, for us, we found Superbetter playing for 30 days seems to make a significant lasting shift in how your brain responds to stress and challenges. So I think that is exciting, because prescriptions being on that for the rest of your life, that's expensive and it's intimidating. But a game could help you change how you approach your challenges and stress permanently.
When you said these are things, it's not necessarily a game where you sit down, but you can take some of these ideas and bring it into your daily lives. What are some of those things? Can you give us kind of a glimpse?
Sure.
As to what that is?
So the daily dose of gameplay that we've tested in our trials, it includes activating 3 power-ups every day. So in a video game, a power-up is that thing that gives you an extra ability, like if you eat the power pellet in Pac-Man.
Or the mushroom in Mario Brothers, and it makes you taller.
Mario Brothers.
I like that.
So what we have you do is either work with your doctor if it's in a clinical setting or your therapist, or work with yourself, your creativity, your friends and family, or the science that we provide to figure out what are the power-ups for you. We know that even drinking a glass of water can be an effective treatment for depression, because it turns out a lot of people with mild depression, it's exacerbated by being dehydrated. When you get dehydrated, your brain says, "Oh no, we've run out of resources. We need to lower our energy. We shouldn't do anything now because we don't have enough water. We might get sick and die."
Well, it's from all the crying too. You run out of tears and it drains your body. I'm just kidding.
We try to help you find these little things that, just like in a video game, can actually really improve your mental, emotional, social, or physical strength that you might not be aware of. Simple things you can do every day that will have that benefit. You also have to battle a bad guy every day, so that's something that's causing you physical pain or stress or anxiety. And so that's, just like in a video game, you don't run away from the obstacles. You have to confront them. Right. You use different strategies, use your creativity. A lot of people, when they're dealing with an illness or injury or just emotional difficulty, they do try to avoid things that cause them negative thoughts or feelings, and that's not an effective strategy at all, and it can prolong depression or prolong anxiety or prolong recovery. So we help you learn how to do one bad guy battle every day. So it continues to be, we have you connect with an ally every day. We have you do a quest every day. So there's a sort of daily dose of these game actions.
I think maybe I did some of this myself when I was really stressed out. I used to play tennis, and like the ball, as it was coming towards me, I'd picture somebody's face and whack it. Or like the idea of
sublimation.
Yeah, like playing darts, and on the dartboard, you just picture that person that just irks you or has pressed too many buttons that day and just bullseye.
Well, and Jane, a lot of people talk about, and everyone knows about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
I bet this is great.
Well, yeah, I can imagine it's got to be good for that. And you actually talk about something called post-traumatic growth. What is that all about?
Right. Well, we now know from the research literature that many people who have a traumatic experience in addition to the pain and suffering, they also can come out of it feeling like a stronger version of themselves, that they feel it's almost like a near-death experience where they feel they now have permission and courage to lead their lives in a way that is truer to their values and their goals, and they put more time with family and things that matter most to them, and then they just feel like a kind of a better, stronger version of themselves. And there are certain things you can do to improve your chances of experiencing post-traumatic growth. And that's the Super Better method is really aligned with those things because it turns out that the ways of thinking and acting that promote post-traumatic growth are very similar to the ways that we think and act in the face of game challenges. That there's a very psychologically healthy way that we approach challenge and frustration and setbacks in games that when applied to our real lives are linked to post-traumatic growth.
That's really, really super interesting. I wanted to actually get into a couple of things. Of course, we're just about out of time, but in one of your TED Talks, you talk about the 5 biggest regrets that people have on their deathbeds and how people give you flack because you're a game designer and they say, hey, if I'm on my deathbed, I'm not going to say, man, I wish I spent more time playing games. But you actually kind of flip that on its head and say that there's a lot that they can take from it. Can you kind of summarize that in about 30 seconds?
Sure. I mean, when you ask hospice workers what people actually express regret about on their deathbed, it's the kind of thing that a little bit of more play every day could help avoid. You know, the number one regret on people's deathbeds is, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. And so certainly a little bit of play, especially if you're playing with friends and family, that is really what that regret, you know, is all about. Maybe I didn't spend enough time with friends and family. I didn't put enough time into that. So a little bit of play every day could help you avoid those deathbed regrets, for sure.
Excellent.
Well, if people want to get your book or if they want to see your talks, where can we direct them?
Sure. I mean, it's Super Better, all one word. It's on Amazon. You can find the app on superbetter.com. And I would love people should come and play.
Great.
Yeah, and her website, actually, I was checking it out, obviously, beforehand, and that's where I started getting drawn into all of these TED Talks. It's really, really fascinating stuff. It was a pleasure speaking with you, Jane.
Wow. Wonderful. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. World-renowned alternate reality game designer Jane McGonigal, and discussing Super Better, a revolutionary approach to getting stronger, happier, braver, and more resilient, powered by the science of games. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Jane.
Sure. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You are listening to American Medicine Today. If you or somebody you know suffering from neck, back, or sciatica pain, even if you're playing the game that Jane just told us about, check out the Bonati Spine Institute, 855-267-0483, or visit Bonati.com. Coming up after the break, we'll have more. Stay tuned.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome has been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonatti Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonatti spine procedures, Alfred Bonatti, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonatti and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thanks for joining us for American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brumell, joined by Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here as always.
Jeff Wagstaff.
Present and accounted for.
And world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonatti at the Bonatti Spine Institute.
Hi. Hey, Doc.
Well,
you guys smell that?
Now it's time to see what Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, President Obama, and the Democrats have simmering in Washington, D.C. Let's see what's cooking in Barack's crotch.
well, something pretty stinky out there.
What's up, Doc?
Yeah. Doc, it's all you.
First Barack's crock of the new year, by the way.
I know. Happy New Year.
The best part is next year at this time,
Uh-huh.
we won't have Barack in office. Well, I guess we still kind of will, because isn't the
but still will smell for a while.
What is it, the 20th of January?
It's
they
typically
take
the
over?
20th is the inauguration.
Yeah,
we
but you
can
know
start
what?
partying though.
Yes, we
A
can.
year from now, we'll be on the downward slope of the Obama administration.
We already kind of are.
Yeah.
So, all right, what's going on, Doc?
So here we are, 238,000 veterans have died because of long waiting times at the VA.
Yeah.
Now, despite all the investigation, despite the promise of McDonald that said that they are going to enforce the laws and change the system of the VA,
Sure.
this is a corrupted system. This is a system that cannot be changed unless it's being closed. And the people just laugh. It's a lot of situations here that are not being clearly resolved. One of the problems that we see is that not only the 238,000 veterans that they die, but at the same time you have a backlog of around 1 million veterans that they are not being seen.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the worst part of it is that remember that they were creating a card that will allow the veterans to go and see the private practitioners to elect if they will be able to see private practitioners for their help.
I think it was the choice card, right?
That was the choice card.
Veterans choice card.
Well, the choice card that was created immediately was practically manipulated because the amount of money that was put, there were billions of dollars, $3.3 billion that they were removed from the choice card because the VA hospitals administration had some shortness of budget.
Yeah.
So they already cheat the veterans from a service.
Sure.
At the same time, any time that the card was presented by a veteran, that needs to be approved by the executives of the VA hospital. So what happened is they never approve. So these people got in the same situation, and the backlog is bigger and bigger.
Well, they don't even really work anyways. I saw, excuse me, on the news here locally, was actually out near like a Apopka, I think. There was a veteran who wanted to see a doctor closer to him rather than having to drive like an hour and 45 minutes to that certain VA.
Yep.
So what happened was he used the choice card to go to one near him, and they gave him a referral to go to the one an hour and a half away. So he ended up, it did nothing for him. He ended up having to go travel anyways.
Yeah,
They're just bouncing
that
these
is
poor
because
veterans
nobody.
back and forth.
What?
They're just
Bouncing
bouncing
them
the
back and
veterans
forth.
back and forth.
Yeah, well,
it's like
abs-
monkey in the middle trying to vie for their medical coverage. And
You
it's
know,
sick.
you know what is the worst thing?
Yeah. What's
The
that?
worst thing is that the waiting list that was already extensive a year ago is 50% longer today. So they retaliate against this type of a behavior, and they make the veterans work longer, 50% longer. Not only they are doing that, but at the same time, the most alarming thing is the fact that they are actively determining who is going to be treated. And if you have a relative or a veteran who has some type of a mental situation, or an individual who is in dementia, or an individual who is in a terminal stage, they decide that they are not going to serve those veterans. So they are going to let them die. So here it is.
The death
we
panels.
have the death penalties.
It has arrived. Yeah. And people, gave, who was it, Sarah Palin that brought it up back
Yes.
in 2012
Oh.
about death panels, and everybody
they
went
hung her
nuts.
out to dry. Yeah.
Yeah, the liberal media just thought that she was,
Flattened
bat-ass crazy
Yeah.
because she's talking about these death panels, and here they are.
But it was already months of a backup, and now they're saying it's like a year or over a year, and the people aren't getting the care they need. Some have cancer, and they're dying before they get treatment. How can we treat our veterans that way?
Dr. Bernardi, we know the Veterans Administration doesn't work. Is there a way for the veterans to be integrated into normal health care and the government pay the cost and just eliminate the VA completely? It's a joke.
Well, we know it's a joke. It was a joke when I was in training. It's a joke today. Remember that when McDonald was elected to direct the VA affairs, he promised that they are going to change things.
Right.
From all the people that they were reprimanded, 27 people were reprimanded. And from all the people that they were reprimanded, 3 were fired. Are you telling me it's thousands and thousands of employees that they are in cahoots with this poor, nasty service to the veterans? And instead to protect them and treat them right and care for them, they are not only misbehaving. These people need to be thrown away, close the hospitals, and give the things to private enterprises that they are going to change the system. You cannot change the system with politicians. They need to be done private enterprise.
You know what I see on here, though, that's alarming? 27 employees, including one senior executive, were found to have been disciplined specifically for the wait time manipulation. Out of the 27, 3 were fired.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, what's crazy too is, and we're pretty much out of time, but we also want to disclaimer the fact that, like, for instance, my father-in-law is a veteran, served in the Navy. He's in his 70s. The VA that he goes to in upstate New York, fantastic. He has great service, never has to wait. So some are really, really bad, and then I think others are a bit better. I don't know.
Let me ask you a question. Why your father goes to the VA?
For a multitude of reasons.
Like what?
I don't know specifically.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
If you go because you want to have your fingernails trim, or you have a cough, or you have a little nosebleed, they treat you very good.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. But if you have a situation that require assistance and a complicated problem, the first thing that you have is poorly trained physicians on the system. Then you have people that they are totally lazy, and then you have individuals that are irresponsible. So it's the same thing that the healthcare in the nation. When they offer you glasses and they offer you some type of a superficial care, everything is okay. But when you are in trouble, then is when you need to know that you have a physician in your back that's going to protect you and treat you well.
Unfortunately, the government isn't there to get your back. So that wraps up the show. Make sure you check us out on Bloomberg both Saturdays and Sundays. Check your local listings. And here in Tampa, WFTS ABC. Check us out and tweet at Dr. Bernardi. See you next time.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome has been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.